Hi everybody, it's Lynette, and I'm here by myself for a change. Well, just me and the animal, and I'm in a different location, as you can see. I am with my Christmas tree. I am in the living room today on my laptop instead of out in the other room. Um, I wanted to do this video in response to Rosemary's Christmas cake. Uh, where do you start? There's so many memorable Christmases. I remember when, now mind you, I am the youngest of four children, and I am the only girl. And my brothers were all 9, 10, and 12 years older than me. So naturally, they would say that I was spoiled rotten, but I'm still spoiled, but don't tell them. But I can remember when I was a child that my dad had an album, and I wish I could remember what the name of the group was, but he would turn that album on every Christmas morning, and that's what woke us up. And we would come flying down that hallway just to see what Santa brought us. Now, mind you, my dad is a musician, and he's been a musician technically most of his life. He bought his first guitar when he was 9 years old, so a lot of gifts were musical instruments. I got my first piano when I was 3 years old. And it was just a little bitty one, but it was a little grand piano. It was the cutest little thing. And I just love that thing, you know. And I played it a lot. And then when I was 8 years old, my dad started giving me lessons on it. So I took lessons for about 8 years, and I don't have I have a little electric piano thing now, and I don't play it. Couldn't tell you the last time I played it, but it is one of those things that if I sit down, it's kind of like they say riding a bike, you never forget. Maybe a little scratchy, but you do the best you can. But our Christmases, when I was a kid growing up, my mother's mom and dad were married on Christmas Eve in 1921. So Christmas Eve was always spent with my mother's side of the family. And my mom was the youngest of three. She had a brother and a sister. So all of my cousins on my mom's side of the family were closer in age to my brother. I did have one cousin, Amy, who was actually younger than me, and me and Amy used to hang out, on those days. But we were little, and we would always go every year on Christmas Eve. Everybody would either come to our house, or they would go to my Aunt Helen's house, or we would go to my Uncle Eddie's house, one or the other. And Christmas Eve night, we would have dinner, and they would exchange gifts and everything. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. And it was not, but we always, I mean, God knows, when I was a very little girl, my grandfather on my mother's side, I was very, very close to. And my mom spent every Saturday with my grandparents, with her mom and dad. We would go to their house, and mom would help grandma do whatever she needed to do, and I would hang out with my grandpa. And my grandpa would walk me down to the corner store, and he'd buy me candy, which I didn't need. And he would buy decks of cards and dice and things like this. And then we would come back home and we would sit out on the front porch, and he would teach me how to roll dice. And stuff like that. Grandpa was a lot of fun. Um, I spent every Saturday of my life with him, and Mom would always say that whatever Grandpa ate, I would eat. Whatever he drank, I drank. Um, he would take beer and he would put it in Kool-Aid, and I would drink it. Not a lot or anything like that, but if he did it, I did it. But Mom always laughed because Grandpa would come home. Grandpa would get pickled herring. He ate a lot. He ate pickled herring. And every time he would get that, then I would run the other direction because I just would not eat pickled herring even to this day. Um, like I said, I spent every Saturday with my grandpa. And as he got older, he ended up getting hardening of the arteries, and he was in pretty bad shape, and he ended up in a mental hospital at Jefferson Barracks. And he would, Mom would go and pick him up on the weekends and bring him back to my grandma's house, and he would stay there over the weekends instead of being at the hospital. And he uh, we would have to go, and whenever we would leave, he would cry. If he was at the hospital, when he was at the hospital, when we went, he would cry. And the only way that we could get out of there and keep him happy was to laugh at him. Now, mind you, I was only 7 or 8 years old at this point, and I did not understand that. But I did what I had to do to keep Grandpa happy. Uh, when I was 8 years old, um, Mom was going to Grandma and Grandpa's. It was on a Saturday. It was the 1st of July of 1967. I'll never forget that day. And Mom was getting ready to go, and I begged her to let me stay home so I could go roller skating instead. And she didn't want to do it, but eventually she went ahead and said okay. So I went roller skating that day, and my mom went to visit her parents. And when she got there, my grandpa was out on the front porch, and it was real hot that day, and he's out there mopping the front porch, and he's sweating really bad, and he told her, she told him, Pop, come in the house. It's too hot out here. You need to get something to drink. So he went in the house. He went in and sat on his bed. Mom went into the bathroom to get him a glass of water, and she heard something. And when she went back in the bedroom, my grandpa had a heart attack, and he died laying across his bed. I don't mean this to be sad, I mean, this is something that has been on my mind because, like I said, me and my grandpa on Mom's side, we were close, and I was the youngest granddaughter that spent the most time with him. And I know my mom was not happy because I didn't go with her that day until what happened. And then she was very thankful. She said she was glad that I wasn't there because she knew that if I had been there, I would have been right by his side when it happened. So this is is something that I have carried with me all my life. And and as I got older, I got to thinking, is that why Grandpa died? Did he die that day because I wasn't there? Because I was always there all those weeks and years and stuff before that? But, you know, it was his time to go. That's all I can say. And that's the way it worked out. And this is my mom and dad's side of the family. I know this is supposed to be about Christmas, but it just kind of took me past that. So anyway, Christmas Eve was always with my grandma and Grandpa Pilsky, who these are my mom's parents. They were actually my grandma was from Yugoslavia and my grandpa was from Czechoslovakia. And they came to East St. Louis, Illinois. That is where they met and they married there. So, all right, Christmas Day was always spent with my dad's side of the family. Now, with my dad's side of the family, he is the oldest, he's the only boy, and he has three younger sisters. And all of my aunts and uncles on this side had kids, and all these kids were closer their kids were closer to my age, whereas my dad's sisters, were closer in age to my brothers. So it's kind of weird the way we all grew up together, but Christmas Day was always at Grandma and Grandpa Powell's house, and we would always have the big Christmas spread and Christmas gifts and all that kind of stuff, and the kids would play outside or we'd do whatever if we were going to Grandma's house, um, and that was always really nice, and we had fun, and we since all of my grandparents are gone now, and we try in this time to get to have to keep the family together. We usually have two major holidays a year, and one of them is 4th of July, which my dad's birthday is on the 8th of July. So we have always tried to um, we've always tried to keep the extended family together. 4th of July, we used to go to my Aunt Dorothy's house. Her and my Uncle Marion had this pretty big lot that they lived on, and we would go out there and they would barbecue and this and that and the other. Well, my Uncle Marion passed away. Since he passed away, my parents started doing it on the 4th of July. Now, here again, because of our family having the musical background, what we would do is we would barbecue, and my brother and my dad would play music for the family. And we would dance, and we would sing, and we would video all this stuff. And then and the kids, my mom and dad have a really nice big yard that's shaded, and all the little kids could go outside and play, and it's always been really, really nice. This past year on the 4th of July was the first year that we didn't do it, and I'm hoping that Mom changes her mind and decides to do it next year. I do as much as I can to make it work, but I mean, it is a big job when you get all of us together, because now we've got the aunts, the uncles, their kids, their kids' kids, and their kids' kids' kids. And then we have people come in from out of town, and I mean, it's nice. It's just that my mom and dad are 85 and 86 years old, and they just tired and don't want to mess with it. And I can understand that. Unfortunately, as far as me and my cousins, our houses are just not big enough to keep this bunch together to be able to do it. So anyway, that's another big thing. Um, I for Christmas, the one thing I love to be with my family. Whatever I have to do to get our family together, I absolutely love. My cousins and stuff, when we do that thing on the 4th of July, and then we usually do it again on Christmas, which my Aunt Dorothy has it at her house on Christmas. And, my Aunt Dorothy, she's 70 something years old. She's 10 years younger than my dad. And she just, she, she's getting older too, and she doesn't want to mess with it either. I don't know if she's going to do Christmas this year or not. It's going to be sad if she doesn't. But because how else are you going to see everybody? I don't. I know I talked to a couple of my cousins that were talking about coming into town, and now they're like, well, I don't know because we don't know where everybody's going to be. So anyway, that's pretty much that. I do know for a fact that whatever happens on Christmas, I will be with my mom and dad. I have three brothers. My brother Gary lives in Houston, Texas, and he is coming home for Christmas. Um, my youngest brother next to me, his name is Bruce. We lost him in 2002. He had a tumor. He had a brain tumor when he was 17 years old that pretty much left him paralyzed on one side. He was able to work and get his strength back up and be able to walk some, but he did have to walk with a cane, and people, just thought he was drunk all the time. And it's a really long story, but Bruce ended up um, getting into drugs and things like this after. In fact, all of my brothers did. But with Bruce, when they did the brain surgery, they put a shunt in the back of his head that would control the equilibrium fluid because this is what the tumor was blocking the equilibrium fluid, so he couldn't walk, normal. And what happened when with his drinking and partying and stuff that he was doing, he would fall and he hit the back of his head numerous times and had to have surgery over and over and over again. And this went on until eventually he was in a wheelchair. Now, um, Bruce was the light of our lives. Let me tell you. I mean, and I'm sure maybe everybody out there knows somebody. Bruce was right in his mind, but it's his body that was so messed up. And he always remembered the past, what it was like to be normal. And he it really upset him sometimes. Um, Toward the end of his life, in he ended up in a nursing home because my mom ended up sick at one point, and they put him in the nursing home because my mother was one of those people. She would never ever ever put him in a nursing home because that was her son and she was going to take care of him until the day she died. That's just the way it was. And but she got real sick, and we thought she had cancer, and they put him in the nursing home. Now, mind you, when Bruce was at home with mom and dad, he spent most of his time in his room. And so he really didn't talk to people too much. He was always excited when me and my kids would come over. He'd sit around and we'd joke. Because Bruce was funny. He was the life of the party. He was always cracking us up. But when he went in the nursing home, it actually was a good thing for him. He met other people. He did things. He would sit at the front door of the nursing home, and everybody who came in, he'd be like, "Hi, I'm Bruce Powell," and every single person who come in there knew who he was. You know, that's just the personality that he had. And when I talk about my family being musicians, Bruce was a musician too. He started playing guitar when he was like 7 years old. This thing with his tumors, that didn't happen until he was 17. And Bruce was the kind of person that when he sang and he played music, he used to sound like James Brown and he could dance like James Brown. One of these days, I don't know, somebody I think has to have a video of it somewhere. I know I have some pictures of it, but I still haven't figured out how to insert pictures on these videos. But if you go to my Facebook page, I have pictures of them, from my Facebook page. Well, anyway, back in 2002, um, we had two different things going on. My brother Daryl had moved back here. He had liver cancer, and Bruce and my brother Daryl was in the hospital over here in Missouri at St. Louis University Hospital for his liver, and he did not want to get a transplant. He felt like if he got a liver transplant, that he was taking away from a child. And when he moved here from Colorado, the doctors told him, "You are too young to just lay down and die." He said, "You have so much life to live and so many things to do, but it." And then Daryl explained to him why he didn't want to do it, and the doctor says that's crazy because nowadays, especially when it comes to kids and stuff, you can take a piece of a liver and actually regrow it, you know. So they talked him into getting a liver transplant, which he did. And I think he had his transplant maybe for a couple of years, you know, before Bruce passed away, or maybe a year. I don't know exactly how long. But all I know for sure is that my parents were going. Bruce, what was happening with Bruce was his body was just starting to shut down, and they would come over here to St. Louis and be at the hospital with Daryl, and then they would drive back to Illinois, and they would go visit Bruce at the hospital over there. It's just all the time. This went on and on and on. Well, I got me and my kids and my husband, and we all went to visit Bruce, and it was on a Monday, and he was in the hospital. And my brother's biggest thing, he loved to be with the family, he loved the barbecues, he loved Christmas, but his favorite things were barbecue and soda. And when we went to visit him that Monday in the hospital, um, the doctor had told him that they were going to have to put him on a feeding tube because he had gotten to the point that every time he ate, he would just cough and choke and just carry on and on and on. And Bruce was really saddened by that. The first thing out of his mouth was, "You mean I can't have barbecue anymore? I can't have soda anymore?" And they told him no, and he was like, "If I can't have those, what's left?" You know, and it was sad. God, it was so sad. We laughed and we carried on with him. And when the doctor left, I went out in the hall and I asked him, is there anything we can do? And he said, no. He said, his body's just shutting down. So I went back in and we hung around for a while. He was so excited that all of us were there because it's not very often that you could get all my kids and my husband. So we did it. Um, we said our goodbyes. I gave him a hug and told him I loved him. And that was on Monday. And on Friday, on Thursday, they took him, or, yeah, Thursday they took him back to the nursing home. And then Friday night, he had a heart attack and he died at the nursing home. He just didn't want to live anymore. I'm sorry. We miss him so much, especially at the holidays, because he loved the holidays so much. The holidays are such wonderful times, and all I want is to be with my family. I'm so thankful that I still have my parents. They're 85 and 86 years old, and God knows I love them to death. And when the time comes that they're not here anymore, when that's going to be a basket case. So now you know why I go there at least once a week and spend the night and hang out with them. Because between my mom and dad, my brother Daryl, who got his liver transplant, and I think it's been 10 years now, he lives with them, which I'm very thankful for. I'm not that far away, about 30, 45-minute drive away, but I'm very thankful that he's there with them because they need help. That's just all there is to it. This was supposed to be about Christmas. Anyway, um, now you know something about my family and my life, and maybe I'll do a part two about this, about family, my family, my immediate family, like me and my husband and my kids and all the fun stuff that has happened in our life. But Jesus, that's a whole nother chapter. Um, I'm very thankful that I have found all of you. And it's made everything that I'm going through so much easier. I guess today is one of my emotional days after chemo. I don't know. I've been really good. So I apologize for breaking down. I hope and pray that you all have a wonderful holiday. And be safe. And all those people out there, all your family and your friends, tell them you love them. God, tell them. Every day. Every day. I talk to my mother every day, and we tell each other we love each other every day. Because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And you can't leave anything unsaid. So, as I said, I'm so thankful that I found all of you guys. I love you guys so much. And your videos make me laugh. And I learn things, and I just like to listen to people talk and hear what everybody else has to say. And anyway, now I'm just babbling. So, thank you for everything. I love you guys. God bless everybody. And take care. And I will catch you later, okay? I love you.